Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet, and on the call with me today I have Olivia Grisham and Tammy Stone. And we've got a jam-packed agenda for you all today, so I'd kind of like to get us rolling. Please check in by what agency you are with. And in the file pod, we do have one document that we're going to be talking about. It is the one called Appealing a Sanction with DHS, so you might want to download that one. Remember to come back to the webinar. We do have a poll question, so if you have not answered the poll question, please do that. We don't have all of the offices on the call from what I can tell from the check-ins. We do have 16 people on the call, so please check in. And, well, Olivia, I shared in your pod instead of in my pod, so do you want to open up my pod and share your screen?
I'll be D today.
All right.
All righty. All righty. So do you guys see the dashboard? Yes. All righty. So I'm quickly just going to do a run through of our enrolled dashboard here. So one of the first rows that I want to cover with you guys is the referral pending appointment has not been scheduled row. We have 6 customers in this row, and I have reached out to DHS for their assistance in this matter. But one of the things I noticed, this number was 17 or 18 just like 20 minutes ago, but I had Cody, our programmer, go in and make some updates. So what I noticed was happening is we have a couple CBOs who are removing appointment dates if the customer did not show up. So if there were no contact or a referral rejected, I saw case notes where the CBO had went in and removed that appointment. We do not remove appointment dates unless we are going to be adding a new appointment date right after removing it. So please do not remove any appointment dates unless at that very next moment you're going to turn around and add a new appointment date. Whenever a customer's appointment date is removed, they are pulled up in the dashboard and go to this top row. So we lose a lot of context of what's going on with the customer. So they're no longer going to show in recommend conciliation if there were no contacts, because the system thinks, well, we need to give them an appointment because they don't have an appointment. So please do not move appointment dates. And DHS is going to be working with these customers and you guys as well to get them scheduled. Just make sure that you continue to add appointments, intake appointments in your guys' calendar, so DHS has plenty of options to choose from. And if you notice a customer has been sitting in there for a long time, please reach out to DHS to see what is going on with that customer. Make sure to check the case notes and everything first, because they may already be working on something and have documented it there. Our second rule, go ahead.
Olivia, I just want to clarify something for everybody. You can change their appointment, their CBO intake appointment. Just don't leave it empty.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're going to add a new appointment, go ahead and remove it. I think what some of you may have done is you know that you're going to add a new appointment in the future, but you went ahead and removed it anyways. So my big thing is do not remove it until you are ready to add that new appointment, because even if it's just a week or a couple days, they're getting pulled back up when they shouldn't be. They need to stay where they're at, actually in Epic. If they have already had an appointment and there are no contact, they need to stay in that row until we're ready to take the next step forward to correct that issue. So yeah, you can definitely reschedule. That's not a problem. Just don't remove the initial appointment until you are ready to do so. And then our second row we have is referral accepted and enrollment started, enrollment required. So I looked through these 20 customers, and all of them have recently been to you guys. We don't have any sitting in there from months back, so that made me very, very happy. Just make sure that you're keeping an eye on these customers and getting them enrolled as soon as possible. I know that it's different for each one of you based on how your intake process goes before enrolling those customers. So just make sure you don't let any sit in there for a long period of time. And then our next row is a CBO past due, or CBO needs to upload past due. So we have 47 customers in here. That is not awful compared to the number that we could have, but 47 is still really high for the 19th of the month, seeing as how this is supposed to be done between the 1st and the 5th of each month. So we just have a few CBOs who have a couple in there. We do have one CBO who has all of their customers still in this row. Please make sure you are getting these updated by the end of the week this week for sure. There should not be any customers in there at this point in time in the month.
So Kelsey, have you done all of the proper exit, completed information and all that kind of stuff? Okay, so send an email to either Olivia or I with that customer's 6-digit number, and we'll take a look at that and find out what's going on.
Yeah. Alrighty. Our next row on the dashboard is completion status. Completion documentation needs uploaded. So we have 33 customers in this row. There's only a couple for a lot of our CBOs. They just have anywhere from 1 to 3 customers sitting in there. Please make sure you're getting this completion documentation uploaded as soon as possible. 33 customers is pretty high. We should be getting this information in there a lot quicker than that. I do know that the employment verification information can be a little more difficult to obtain, so we understand hired by employer customers sitting in there for a while, but a majority of these customers are exited for other reasons than being hired, and all they need is a 2151A marked as complete. It'll take 5 seconds for the customer to mark that one checkbox and get it uploaded. So if you have customers in here, please get this taken care of right away. We do have one CBO who has a large number of customers in this row, so please make sure you get those cleaned up right away. You know who you are because you have more than 3. I will be reaching out to you if I have to, if these aren't cleaned up by the end of the week. So, yeah.
Well, and I've got a sheet that we're going to pull up too in just a second to show you who's got what where.
Yeah.
Because we do this to the DHS offices as well.
And then our next row is DHS indicated SNAP ineligible, CBO action required. We had 36 customers in there. Again, it was just a couple per CBO. We did have another CBO who had kind of a higher number, but we understand that these customers are constantly coming in. You may have like one day a week where you just go in and get this row completely cleaned up. You might not do it every single day. So just make sure you're getting those customers exited. We just want to be sure that they are not being served and that everybody's on the same page that they have lost their SNAP benefits. Do you guys have any questions about the Enrollment Dashboard? Alrighty. Well, that is all I have for our Enrollment Dashboard.
How about if I pull this sheet up here real quick while you change screens? So what we do every time we have a webinar with the CBO or with the DHS offices is we create a sheet like this for the items that they need to take care of. So I decided that we were going to start doing this for you guys as well, and this will come out with the minutes. This was done late yesterday afternoon and early this morning, so some of these numbers may not be exactly the same, but it's a good indication of who needs to really do some work. And so this will come out with the minutes, and we would appreciate it if you need help getting these things figured out because you're not quite sure what to do with them. Please, please, please call Olivia or I. That's what we're here to help you with. So we don't want these numbers to be burdensome for you. We just need to make sure that you're on top of what is going on. And if you can see here, there's a lot of 1s and 2s and some 3s. It's the bigger numbers, once you get over that 5, that really kind of scares me. I'm probably pretty sure it scares Olivia too, but
yeah.
All right, so I'm going to minimize this and let Olivia go on with the ISTEP dashboard.
So Laura from Phalanx has a question. Olivia, what about a customer that was referred back to a CBO? Will there be a new 2151 upload? Yes. So if a customer was maybe referred to a CBO and didn't show up for that first appointment and they were in no contact, then they went to DHS and went through Conciliation and then showed back up at the CBO. DHS is supposed to update that appointment date, and then once they show back up to you guys for a second time, anytime a new customer shows up to be re-engaged, we're uploading that 2151. Now, you don't have to upload that 2151 when they're coming in for their regular appointment dates, but anytime engagement with them has stopped and has started again, you're going to upload that 2151 on their intake appointment, stating either they showed up, they were no contact, maybe they were rejected for some reason, and then that 2151 will override their original 2151 and move them to the appropriate row on the dashboard.
Autumn, those customers are not the ones that are showing up in the dashboard here. Those customers that never ever came and are now sanctioned or now ineligible, those will not show up in the ISTEP dashboard. We're talking about the enrolled and enrollment verified customers that need to have the target occupation.
So, Kelsey, you said that you had a customer just call you. Do you mean they just called you instead of coming to their orientation or in their intake appointment? And did they say, I'm not going to participate in EPIC? Or did they say, I want to participate, I'll come in at a later date? Okay, so, a re-engaged customer just left one message, so not uploading and not shown up to anything, but a re-engaged customer just left one message. So it was their appointment to be re-engaged with you, and they called you but did not leave any voicemail or talk to you in any way. So if they're being re-engaged and you had no communication with them, even if they called and did not leave you a voicemail, but you did not talk to them at all, you're going to upload a 2151 with no contact. You're going to want to try to call that customer back, which I'm assuming you did, because you had no contact. DHS has to know that you had no contact with them, because if you do not upload a form, DHS cannot do anything, because DHS is going to say, well, the CBO never let us know if you showed up or not, and the customer can appeal that and will not win. Okay, Kelsey, let's talk about this customer offline then, because that makes it a different situation if you guys had no clue they were coming back.
And Autumn, let's have a conversation tomorrow morning. I'm going to be in Tinley Park tomorrow, but I've got some downtime before I have to speak. So if we can talk tomorrow morning around 9 o'clock, that would be great. I'll be on my cell phone.
All right,
okay,
so I'm going to go ahead.
Dashboard.
Yes, and move on to the ISTEP dashboard. So before I start going over what we need to add, I just kind of want to summarize this for all three of our sections, the personal development, career planning, and academic and technical training. So each of these sections have a status of on track, off track, or complete. And so once a customer completes all of the steps in their ISTEP for that section, you're going to mark them as complete. Also, if the customer does not need any steps in that section, and personal development should really only be the section they and don't need any steps in, you can then also mark that as complete. Some customers who are doing pre-employment only services may not need any academic or technical training steps, and if that's the case, you can mark them as complete. We need to make sure that we are marking customers off track if they are not getting the required steps done by the due date when they're supposed to, unless a good cause reason exists. If that's the case, we just need to extend that due date so it's not showing them overdue. Alrighty. So I'm just going to go over a couple of the rows that we need to make sure we're getting customers moved out of. So the first row is in the personal development section. We have 783 customers with no steps identified. Like I said, not all customers will need steps in this section. We just need to make sure that we are marking it as complete if they do not need steps. That way when I go in to look, I know that it's not that you guys haven't put any steps in there yet. It is you guys have already assessed them and determined that they do not need steps. So make sure that you are getting these updated and the proper status put on each section. Alrighty, and our next row is target occupation not selected. So in the career planning section, you guys have an area where you can go in and see their application information. If you click the edit button on that area, it will allow you to go in and select a target occupation for your customer. And this should be based off of the conversations you've had with them and where they would like their career to go later down the road, and also based on their application and what they had and included in that. So we need to make sure that we are getting these updated for the last remaining 260 customers. I am very, very happy with this number. You guys are doing a really good job of keeping this up. This is the highest it's been. Having 82% of our customers with the target occupation is selected is great. I would be very happy if we could get to 90. So please make sure you're taking a look at that and getting all of those occupations selected. And the second area is the no steps identified. We have 146 customers who do not have any steps identified in the career planning section of their iStep. This should not be the case. Every customer should have some career planning step of some sort. And so please make sure you're going in and getting steps assigned for those customers. They may not have started them, but you can still go in and add the steps that the customer will be completing in the future. You're just going to leave them marked as not started. And then our final row is the no steps identified in the academic and technical training section. So we have 221 customers who have no academic steps selected. As I said earlier, there may be a handful of customers who are doing pre-employment only services and will not need any academic or technical training steps. If that's the case, we're going to mark them as complete. I do know that we should have less than 221 customers with no steps identified. We do not have that many pre-employment only customers, so please make sure you're getting those academic and technical training steps entered. Do you guys have any questions at all on the iStep dashboard?
And I can demonstrate how to change that target occupation. That might answer your question, Autumn. So then we might not need to talk in the morning.
Alrighty, well, if nobody has any questions, I am all done going over the dashboards. So I will move my screen over, or should I say D-screen over, so my screen can come up pretty.
All right, check in real quick if you didn't already. We got 26 people on the call. All right, I'm going to pull this up and over here. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is updates that we have going on right now. And I had a revelation the other day, and it was all about the fact that we couldn't always tell you if somebody was from a feeder office. So on the progress page for a customer now, we have the ability, and my screen should be moving here momentarily. Make it bigger for you. Now, on the contact information on the progress page, we have, and this has not, can you check with Cody real quick, Olivia, and see if this has been pushed? I'm going to go back to a customer where I know it is. Oops.
What do you need to see if it's been pushed?
See if he pushed out the local office update. He was supposed to do that over the weekend.
Okay.
All right. So on the progress page for the customer, we have this contact information right now that says local office Englewood, and we have asked DHS to now use who that case manager is, or who that local contact is for that office. Now, if it doesn't look like it says the right person, like, for example, Mid-South is actually Ben Hernandez, but Englewood is Cesar Zavala. So if you don't see Cesar Zavala's name, always double-check that DHS primary contact list that is in the restricted resources page to make sure that you're contacting the right person. And if you don't know how to get to that, all you have to do is go to your login and go to Epic Partner Resources, and we keep the most current DHS primary and secondary contact list right here on the screen. So if we click on that PDF right there, it is there. Okay. All right, so now back to this, we want to just make sure that that is aware, all of you guys are aware of that. And this really only is applicable to Region 1, but it's useful to know where that list is no matter what area you are in. Now what I want to talk about is the conciliation process. And we have changed this process because we had things that were just not going properly. So if we look at the enrolled dashboard, and Pam, I'm going to pick on you here. She has 2 customers in no progress and 16 customers in minimal progress. The new process is to get those people scheduled for a conciliation appointment and then upload a 2151A that says conciliation in the left-hand side. So once she gets these 18 people with a 2151A uploaded that says conciliation, then they'll all move down to this conciliation bar right down here, and then we can keep track of where these customers are. It's one extra step, but what we were having issues with was the fact that DHS is losing appeals on improper paperwork. And then the other thing that we're going to include in the minutes coming out today with this webinar are some examples of items that you can add to a 3392 conciliation agreement. So please review the appealing a sanction with DHS. Review the page 3 and 4 of that because I have new pictures and new suggestions for the information that needs to be on the 2846G. And I guess while I'm here, I'm going to just open up this document so that you can see the changes that have been done, and it's under the conciliation process in the Epic Resources. And on page 3, you do now upload a 2151A that says conciliation. And then you complete the 2846G form. And because of all of the appeals that have been being lost, we're getting very, very, very particular with what needs to be on this 2846G form. So you need, let me expand this or make this a little bit bigger. We need the date that you're sending it, the customer name from the DHS case, that's what they have entered in the system, the DHS case number ID, the date and the time that you are scheduling it. We also need the location where the appointment will be scheduled. And for example, if you're in a particular office that has multiple identities in that office, make sure you put who to ask for and what desk to go to and what room to go to. You want to know what the reason for the appointment is, and then where was that notice mailed, because that has been a sticking point on some of the appeals. So all of this information needs to be added to the conciliation form. The directions are in the file pod. They are also on the resources page. And that's an autumn on the bottom. I'm not sure if I can highlight this, but on the bottom here it says reason for appointment and appointment notice mailed to Z-Test 5678 Street, Anytown, Illinois. So that's exactly where it's, as long as it's on there, and if you have major problems with any of your customers, mail out a return receipt request to make sure that they've gotten the piece of mail. Okay, sorry, I can't magnify it much more. I'm sorry, but just look at the document and download that. They need to be sent out at least 5 days in advance, and then be very specific. I'm going to actually update these instructions to include some suggested items that you can include on the conciliation agreement. My thought would be prepare a set list of things that you want that customer to do within 30 days during that conciliation period. And then if they do not follow, you submit that 2151A. All right, I see Kelsey typing. Oh, Carmen says, if that information needs to be added, can you please have DHS add a section for that? Yeah, I would love them to do that, but that's not going to happen. Yeah. I even said that to one of the DHS people that I was talking to, and they said, yeah, well, that's not going to happen to me. So DHS has approved you doing it differently. Well, we want everybody to be consistent now, and so this is what we're going to be doing. If they've got you doing something else, please share that with us so that we can see how it differs from what we're doing. Yeah, we don't want to be the problem. We don't want the CBOs to be the problem. Okay. Moving on, we talked about local office address, the reverse referral process. We've had some issues come up this week in the past, well, since the last webinar, about reverse referrals. A couple of things that you have to be aware of, and again, you can find the process for the reverse referrals on our pages, on our resource pages, and that is right down, oops, I passed it. That is right here. And what you have to remember when you're doing this is the customer cannot be a TANF recipient. They can be a voluntary participant if they are over 49 or if they have children, as long as they are not a TANF recipient. You are to complete a 2151A and email it to the local office contact for that particular office where they tell you they go, and copy Deidre Wesley on that email. And if you want to, copy epic@illinoisworknet.com. That way, that will help us get knowing what's going on with those reverse referrals. And some of you are very good about letting us know when things are going wrong. It's just a matter of we need to, again, try to be as consistent as possible, and we don't want to be the problem. All right. And then, okay, once the 2,500 number is, we're in process of discussing that right now. We're in process of discussing life after 5,000. So we do not have a 100% answer right now, but I know there was a meeting last week, and they will be sharing that information with us moving forward. Okay, last, we talked about appointment dates already. Tammy, do you want to talk about the technical assistance tool?
You bet. We've got the technical assistance tool completed, and we're doing some training on it next week, and then we're having site visits. We're going to 3 organizations next week on the 27th. It's going to be an official TA visit, but we're also testing our tool to see if there's any changes or modifications we need to make to that. And then Friday, we're going to have a webinar to just kind of debrief and see where we're at with our tool. Once we get done with the debriefing Friday and change any elements that we need to change, we're going to be sending letters out, dividing and conquering. We're going to come out to all of the CBOs and provide, technical assistance through that specific tool. And then, make the recommendations of things that, we're finding inconsistent or it needs to be complete or needs to be cleaned up as we're out in the field. This is not a monitoring. This is a technical assistance. There will be formal monitoring that will probably occur the last quarter of this year starting. Now, you guys, some of you have been contacted by Chuck Dooley, who is our fiscal officer here with the WIOA program, and they are doing the fiscal monitoring for us, the EPIC program. So I think he's at least communicated with 2 or 3 and has established visits to do the fiscal side of it. And he's providing you the tool with that, too. So just be aware that you will be receiving and communicating with Chuck Dooley and his staff to do the fiscal monitoring also. So if you have any questions with that, just let me know. But we'll be in the field. We're excited. I know Dee's been out in the field, but the rest of us are really excited to get out there and, visit with you guys and see how things are going.
All right, and I just put Deidre's email address in the chat pod so that you can make sure that you include her on any reverse referrals. Last thing that I want to talk about, because I said I was going to and I forgot, on the I-step to change the, did I get that wrong, Deidre? All right, you going to type the right one? All right, on the I-step,
I think she was saying yay to include her on those reverse referrals so she can track them.
Yeah.
I think her address is right, but just really on those reverse referrals, we're trying to tighten that process up more, and we're having conversations on that too. So that on those reverse referrals, please include Deidre so she can follow these people. And make sure you follow the process that Dee just went through. Okay,
right.
Sorry, Dee.
I-step. The target occupation is I-step. Career planning, then you go to the second box down where it says review information and goals. Click on the word edit over on the right-hand side. Scroll down. Pick a target pathway. There are 15 or 16? 15, I think. So pick one, and there's only going to be a few that you actually offer. And then pick what the occupation is within that pathway. And then that will be updated, and Olivia and I will be ecstatic. Okay, moving on to the DGR report. I'm gonna stop sharing, Tammy, and then you can just try to share your screen in this pod right here.
Oh, perfect. Let me, just 1 second.
So Tammy's going to talk about the DGR report procedures and the grant modification process.
Okay. Everybody should have received an email from me, I believe probably last week, reminding you about the DGR report that's due the end of this month. Same thing that we've been doing. I just want to walk through this again because we've had some inconsistencies on completing this and filling it out. Also, the thing that was in that email, and I hope everybody did it, we are at the end of our state fiscal year. We're starting the new state fiscal year, and so every July we have what's called a rollover period, in which they have to roll the funds from this state fiscal year. I guess it would be 16 or 17 to 18. So there's a down period with that. So we told you that you need to put your cash request in and request appropriately to cover the time period for those cash requests. You have, really, honestly, you only have 30 minutes left because they're closing that down at 4 o'clock today. So the 19th was, the time to do that. And that information was all in that email that was provided to you guys. Now, you can still report your costs until 4 o'clock on the 20th. So you still have until tomorrow to report your costs. I've had several conversations with CBOs. There's some certain things that are out of line. For an example, you've expended more in certain categories, and you can't report those costs because of some limits on those. What we're telling you to do is your trial balance needs to reflect what your true costs are, and then you report costs in your GRS, the line items, to the amount that you can report it. And then in the crosswalk, you're going to let us know. But Sheila's going to be on the line here in a little bit. Sloan in a little bit that's going to talk about that process because our fiscal officers review what you submit in the GRS for your costs, and then they compare it to your trial balance. So she's going to talk about that here in a bit. But on this document, one of the things, well, the first thing, and this is my error, it should be from 3/1/17 to 6/30/17. So make sure you change
that. Tammy, can you make that just a little bit bigger in your lower right-hand corner? Just hit the plus sign.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
On the Excel.
Definitely. Is that better?
One more.
Is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's off my screen, but I can move around it. So basically, the top part is you're going to put your grant number, replace the 2 X's with the last 2 numbers in your grant agreement, your grantee name. The report period, put this as 3/1/17 to 6/30, so just change that to a 3. It was prepared by, contact information, and date prepared. Now, our fiscal office will look at the prepared by when they have questions, and that's who they're going to reach out to regarding any questions they have when they're looking at the trial balance and the GRS. So make sure you have good information in there for us. Nothing else needs to be filled out on this until you get down to your performance. Do not fill anything out under Section 1 expenditure reports because this is where we're comparing the DGR to the trial balance. So you do not have to put anything in this, and we don't want you to because that's just another third place for information to get in that could be inconsistent. You don't have to do anything under the matching funds, anything under the Subpart B grant receivables. That's all in our system, accounting system that's doing that. We're looking at that. The next area you're going to report into is under performance measures. So this is under Subpart C, performance measures, and we have your participants enrolled in training, and this is actually seat time, actually enrolled in a training program. Number of participants completing training, so those are the ones that have completed a training program. Number of participants employed, and number of participants retained for 90 days. Now, the required number is in your grant agreement, and you guys, I'm sure you got that in the reports anyways, but if you need to find that, that's in your current grant agreement that's required. Anything previous, actual is anything that was accomplished prior to 3/1, and then current actual is anything accomplished from April, May, and June. So anything 4/1 through 6/30 would be in the current actual, and then it comes up with your numbers here. Now, this performance measures section is something that we are looking at in the WorkNet system, too, on the benchmarks. and it's calculated based upon, and if you go into your benchmark report form in the system, it tells you how that is counted. So it's counted based upon people being enrolled and having open cases in specific areas. So like anything in the academic area, if you're looking at somebody that's in remediation or a bridge program or a career and technical program, it's open cases in those specific areas. And then the completion is completions in those areas too. And then the paid work experience is a little different because it can be an enrollment in a training program, but it's not in the completion. It's not considered a completion because it's not technically a training, an academic training program. So, and then we got the employed and then the retained. So this section needs to be completed. We want you to put your numbers in here where you think you are, and then once again, we're going to be looking at this compared to the benchmark report. We want to validate our numbers in the benchmark report and make sure that they're accurate along with what you're telling us. And if there's a difference, once we know our numbers are really validated, and there's a difference, then that difference is going to be the fact that there's information missing in the I step. And so if you're not completing the I steps correctly, then that benchmark report is not going to be accurate and show us, what your actual performance is. So after that, the only other thing you need to do, you could do success stories, but we want those in the system, so I recommend that you just put those in the system. You need the grant to be the grant signator, and this needs to be an authorized signator, whoever is authorized to sign your grant agreements. Type in their name and title and the date. So that is all that needs to be done on this report. This authorized signature, name and date, title, the performance measures here, and then the information related to who you are up here. You're going to be submitting this along with a trial balance that's coming from your accounting system, and it has to be a cumulative trial balance, so it's going to be a year to date. And I'm going to I am going to kind of turn this over to Sheila because she's our fiscal guru, and her and a bunch of our other fiscal managers take a look at this. So she's going to tell you her trials and tribulations in looking at some of these reports.
Well, I know GRS is not the most user-friendly system that there is out there, and I've not really had a whole lot of calls from people. So you all seem to be managing the system quite well, getting cash requests in and getting your costs reported. The challenge that the fiscal staff is having, and I know a lot of you have probably communicated with some of us, myself, and a couple of the other fiscal staff, the trial balance is not matching what is reported in GRS. Those have to match, and I know every system that every one of you use is completely different from the other. The thing that we need you to do when you run that trial balance, take that trial balance and then pull up your reported cost through that quarter end period on GRS, and I need you to look at that and see if those numbers match. Is there a clear direction that says, like, if you look at your trial balance, can I clearly look at that and say, oh, yes, here are the costs that are reported on this line? I may or may not know that because I'm not sitting in your shoes.
Excuse me. Tammy's screen just stopped sharing.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I don't think there's really anything to be shared.
There's nothing to be shared. Yeah, I was just moving it out of the way.
I kind of got called in on this just at the last minute, so.
Devin wants to know if this was sent out to all contacts. She checked her email and didn't receive this report.
Devin, can you give me your email address and I'll make sure it's forward?
She's with JARC, right?
Okay. Yeah. And if anybody else on the call did not receive it, just give me your email address and I'll make sure it's forwarded to you. It went to the contacts that's in our CBO contact list.
And did it go to everybody or just the fiscal person?
It went to, no, the actual contacts in our CBO contact list.
Okay. All right.
So,
sorry, Sheila.
That's okay. So, there's a lot of disparity between what is reported in GRS and what is showing on your trial balance. I may not know that you took these three categories and put them in this budget line on GRS and reported them that way. If I can't make that clear distinction, you need to tell me what that distinction is. Mark it on your trial balance. These got reported in this line. Add them up from your trial balance and make sure that they add up to what's on GRS. If they don't match up, it's got to match dollar to dollar, penny to penny. If not, then you need to do the crosswalk document. We have a document. I'll forward to Tammy so she can send it out in case anybody needs it, that kind of explains what that crosswalk document is, that shows you how to bridge between GRS and your trial balance, but they have to match. And if I can't reconcile it, then, and I've had some difficulty with like 4 of them or 5 of them this last week, and that just takes, I don't have time to sit and try to finagle it and work with it and try to figure it out, so I will be sending it back and saying, please help me, how did you get from these numbers that you have on your trial balance to the numbers that you put in GRS? We didn't put them in, you guys did, so you guys have the knowledge that we need. So just try to give us that stuff up front and give us as much information as possible so that we can make that bridge between what's on your trial balance that you provide us as support for what you've put in GRS. And there are a lot of times there's reasons. Sometimes it's a grant mod. Sometimes, I put too many costs in this one and I couldn't get them backed out. Fine, just explain that to us. That's all we need. We just need to know how you got from one set of numbers to the other.
And just to add to that, I know there's some agencies that have overexpended some of their line items and they can't put the cost in because you've exceeded that. And I've had communication with you, and what I've told you is in those particular cases, put a note in there so the fiscal people know that once the modification is completed, that the DGR and your trial balance will align. But, because of restrictions on our line items for costs, you're not able to increase those.
Right, and that can be done through that crosswalk document because you can have a column on there because it's basically like a spreadsheet, and you can just put a column on there, modification to be processed, and then add those monies in there or whatever. However you can get it from one to the other to make it easy for us to reconcile those numbers. And if you've got any questions when you're trying to do this, feel free to call me, and I'll try to help you out as much as I can. And Tammy can give you my number, or I can put it in the chat pod here. But does anybody have any questions on anything?
I don't see anybody typing any. Oh, I see Sheila typing.
Yeah, I was going to put my email address in here too, just in case.
And like Sheila was saying, if you're looking at this document, if you're looking at the trial balance report, and you're looking at your costs in the GRS, and you don't know how those reconcile, you don't know how the trial balance cost reconciles to those line items, then you need to work, with your fiscal office and, explain. Because if as program people or fiscal people, if you don't know how those costs translated to the GRS, then there's absolutely no way our staff is going to know.
Yeah, it's just, I don't understand your system like you do, or your fiscal person will, so that's why I will send it back and say, please help me clarify this, or please provide additional information, because I'm not having any luck getting it to reconcile. And on the, I had a thought in my head, and I've lost it. I guess that's old age now. I'll think about it. I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
Marilyn is asking, what is the process of modification if you over?
Yes, and that's next on the agenda too. We are going to be modifying these grants. We're starting to work on them now, and then we can't actually push them until the rollover is done. So starting in August, July and August, we're getting the paperwork ready to go. So in August, once the rollover is done, that we can push them. We're looking at each of your organizations. We're looking at your expenditures and where you're at in expenditures. We're looking at where you're at on your referrals and enrollments. We only put 50% of each of your contracts out because the money is going to follow the customers. So one of the things that and I'll get into that here in a second, but so what we're going to be looking at is your performance and your expenditures, and then we're going to be increasing grants, that need to be increased, and then we'll be looking at those line items and seeing where we can move things around if need be within our parameters of what we are held to with F&S. So so those are the things that we'll be doing. Like I said, in August, we intend to have everybody's grant agreements modified. And during this modification, not only are we going to be looking at your increasing your funds, but we're also going to extend the grant term. Right now it ends in February of 2018. We're going to extend that to more than likely the end of October of 2018. The program got a late start, and with state grants, we can only issue them for a 2-year period, but we can modify them to add more time on it. So we're going to be modifying those to extend the grants to, I anticipate no longer than the end of October. So we'll be working with you individually on that. And once again, I'm like, Sheila, I had another thought coming, but that's gone now too. So any other questions on the modifications?
Today when Marilyn says, today when I entered personnel, it was over and the system accepted it. However, last month with admin, it did not. Please explain.
Admin is capped at 5%, and there's no flex on it, and it's in your grant agreement. If you take a look at your grant agreement, it'll tell you what line items have flex and what don't. The other line items have 10% flex, so you can go over your line item by 10% on those.
As long as you don't go over the total grant budget.
Correct.
You can go over 10%, but then another one has to be under by the same amount.
Exactly. But like I said, we will be, we'll be adding funds to the grants based upon expenditures and performance. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say is we're looking, because part of this being a pilot project is what makes sense for a pay performance model. And we've had conversations with our staff in here. We're going to be adjusting some of the benchmarks, because one of the things that I don't think we realized is how heavy case management is in this particular project, and we're going to be adding a case management step with that also. So that will be a benefit to you guys, because there is a huge amount of case management related to this program that I don't think was really accounted for at all in the benchmarks when we started this. Speaking of which, it did just be like those customers that are referred to you, that they come in to see you and they just never really engage, but you still have to, try and follow back with them, try and get them in the door, you're doing case management with them. You have to do your staffing with them. So there's so much cost related to customers that may never actually have seat time in a training program. So we're taking that into consideration.
Autumn says, amen. Can I get an amen?
Hey, it's a pilot program. It's been an experience, but, and I know Deidre's on the line on the DHS side and on our side. There's some really good stuff I think that's coming out of this, in the long run, and there's a lot of things that, we would like to potentially recommend as far as, potential policy decisions in the future and processes and procedures. So, we want your input too, on this, because this is a pilot, and this, should drive future programs.
And Kelsey's saying would be great if it included those who we were with and get referred to other programs after assisting with career exploration. So meaning somebody that didn't stay with your program because they wanted to go do truck driving instead of IT. So is that all going to be countable with that as well, Tammy?
That can be, yeah. Because at one point I would anticipate you had them in an enrollment status. So, once a customer is enrolled with your organization and you guys actually have spent time with them and have worked with them, you should never change their status from enrolled to not enrolled. They should always be enrolled. They may no longer be with you. You may enroll them and then do a reverse referral, or not a reverse referral, but a referral rejected, because we need to move them. But you shouldn't eliminate their enrollment status
until they're complete.
Yes. And that one may be a little trickier. I'm going to have to work with Natasha on that because that customer would actually be moved to that new organization. So,
but we
Kelsey,
still have the
we'll
database.
discuss that one. Yeah.
We still have the database that shows where they were.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Are you done talking about grant modification process?
I believe I am.
All right. Then the last piece would be the success stories, and we had a good one that came through this past week. So please, please, please remember to send us the success stories or upload them into the tool under the EPIC resources. And here's a big question, and I think Marilyn is asking, will you allow modification to admin if you are under in other categories? I'm going to defer that to you guys, but if the case management piece comes out, is that going to reduce the admin costs?
No, your line items are pretty much stuck. Admin is 5% of your total grant amount, period. And that's what's in our contract with FNS. So admin is tied to your total grant amount. The other line items, we can take a look and see what you've got in those line items specifically. We want to keep our budget in line with what we have with FNS. So that's kind of driving us as far as what we're putting in the other specific line items. And areas that that we need to concentrate on is paid work experience. It's considerably lower than it needs to be. And part of what we're going to be doing in the TA tool is verifying that that you're reporting paid work experience in the GRS and also in our EPIC system, and that they correlate, because I've seen some situations where there's some paid work experience in the EPIC system, but it's not showing up in the GRS. So, part of our technical assistance is making sure that everything's correlating along with this too, and we'll help you to do that.
All right. I see Laura's typing, but I don't know if it's for us. Please check in if you haven't. We've got 28 people on the call, and I don't know if we have 28 people that have checked in the poll pod to the right of the chat pod.
Also, we only have 4 people that have commented on the
6.
Oh, sorry, on the survey. And granted, those are going to be Chicago people, so we have, 16 agencies?
Yeah, but I've also got that they're a downstate provider or then the Region 1 things. So,
I just got to arrow down then, don't I?
Yeah. You're on a small screen.
There we go.
All right. I still see Loris typing, and I also see Louisa typing. You guys got to write a book. You need to give me a call instead. Loris is saying, are we able to extend the number of weeks of paid work experience?
Yes, you can. And I'll dig up the email. There was an email that went out on that, and I'll recirculate that. But the paid work experience, we did receive, some verification from FNS that can be local control as far as the wages and the term of the work experience. It should really be defined based upon your customer's needs.
All right. And Bola says, what do we do for a client that has her own business that's not registered? Client said she is losing money by being an EPIC and doesn't care if she is dropped. Well, that's the big problem. You're in a voluntary area. She's not reporting her business. She's not probably reporting any income because she's not paying herself as an employee. So she needs to get sent back to DHS because her case could potentially get canceled, and she could potentially have to pay back all of the benefits that she's gotten. Nancy, what are you asking if we can send to you? Bola, you need to talk to your DHS office. All right. Oh, okay. So, Tammy, can you send Olivia some information about the paid training so that we can include that in the minutes?
Yep. Yes, I will. I'll find that email that went out related to that and send it to everybody.
All right, good. All righty. I don't see anybody else typing right now. So it's been an hour. We're cutting it off right now. Again, if you have any questions, please get in touch with Olivia or I or Tammy, and you should all of you should have our information. So have a great rest of your day. We'll talk in 2 weeks, if not before.
Take care,
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.